Hey boys and girls, it's Mrs. Hoffman. I actually got myself a stand. I'm making this video from home and I'm excited to show you how to write your procedure, your step-by-step directions, and also show you a cool website that will help you to make your graph when you're ready to do so. First, let me start by saying how many of you guys are just taking this seriously, and I see the learning, I see the thinking going on, and you make me beyond proud every single day. I want to stress that if you are past a date, no worries at all. Turn it in whenever you can. Those dates were just to kind of help you to time manage your project, so you didn't wait till the very end of the month to do it and then it was all due the following day. So I was trying to help parents and help students, and also it kept us on track in class. So just turn things in as you are finishing them. I'm hoping by this time that you've at least started trial 1, trial 2, you're writing in your observations, you're collecting data, and if at any time you want me to take a look and make sure you're off to the right start, go ahead, bring it in. I would love to talk to you about it. So we're going to keep talking about the Skittle project that we're doing at school. I wrote out my procedure. I wanted to be basic but very specific. So I start with getting all my materials. So you may want to even write out what the materials are. I will say that I would hold off numbering because I can already see changes and edits that I want to add to this. So instead of, I didn't use pencil, but instead of erasing, I can just wait to put the numbers on until later. You may even want to leave space like I did, so if you did forget something, you could go in and edit it. It happens all the time. So after we have all of our materials ready, I went to say that we place the cups in front of each liquid. So here's where I'm thinking an edit would have been, I need to put all of the liquids in their containers on the table. Place the cups in front of each liquid. Then that's when we took our measuring cup and I measured out 3 tablespoons of each liquid and we poured it into the cup. Once all of the liquids were poured, then we were ready to put our Skittles in. So now thinking we had 18 of us working on this, so I had lots of hands to help. But if you're doing this at home or maybe with a sibling or with mom or dad, you may have to drop 1 Skittle into each liquid, but as close to the same time as possible. So drop 1, drop 2, drop 3, drop 4, drop 5, and you've got it. So as soon as those went into the liquid, we started our 5-minute timer. So if you're doing anything involving time, you want to keep your intervals the same amount of time. So we're going to keep checking it every 5 minutes. Don't forget to write your observations you notice until the timer goes off. So anything you guys were saying, I was writing it down. We saw fizzing in the root beer. We saw how the water changed color. I was writing all of that down in my notebook. Then we're going to, when the timer goes off, we used our spoon to scoop out each Skittle. We recorded the data and any observations. I'm going to continue with the procedure, but then I'm going to show you how I collected data. After we did that, we dropped our Skittles back in, and I set another, on the page, 5-minute timer. We're going to continue to record our observations in our data log. And once again, when the timer goes off, we're going to record our data and observations. It seems very repetitive. So then you get to a point where you can just say, after the timer goes off, we're going to drop our Skittles back in. And then from this point, just go ahead and keep repeating steps 5 through 9, which remember, mine are numbered. So we're going to wait to maybe put those numbers down. And we're going to do this process until all the Skittles dissolve. Now, here's where, as our project, we're getting into a little problem. Oh, don't say problem, Mrs. Hoffman. We can solve it. I know. You guys are all so smart and you've been helping me. But I, as your science teacher, am having a little bit of trouble with the way we're collecting data. But I wanted to share it, and hopefully this can maybe help in your data collection at home. For each trial, we had 5 liquids. So I wrote our 5 liquids, and then I did the time intervals that we did for each timer. It was hard to record what we were seeing because there were Skittles in each one. So I decided after we did it once or twice to go and just, if we were seeing a Skittle, I drew a check mark. And so at 5 minutes, we saw Skittles in all the liquids. 10 minutes, we saw Skittles in all. 15, we saw Skittles in all. 20. This is where we started to see our change in all of our trials so far. So it's telling me that our data is consistent. At 25 minutes, when we went to go scoop out the water Skittle, we could not find it, or it was so small that we could not scoop it out. So I put an X, meaning no more Skittle, but the rest of them are still there. 30 minutes, I'm not going to record data on this one anymore, but at 30 minutes, all of the other liquids were still there. At 35 though, vinegar, we could not find that Skittle, so I put another X. So now I'm just recording data on the root beer, apple juice, and milk. And you can see that we kept this data going in 45 minutes, 50 minutes, and then at 55 minutes. Now that milk's being a stinker. It's taking way too long. And so I'm stopping it at 55 minutes because our class period would always change. So my time for my trials is anything more than 55 minutes is where I'm gonna say that's the end. It probably could have kept going and my data would have been better, but for our class purposes, I stopped it here. And I did this for every trial. And here's where I can go and I can compare what if my data is consistent. Do we have an oddball? We did have an oddball on one of the trials. Let's see here. Maybe it was once the vinegar we thought and then once the apple juice. I'll have to look and analyze the data more clearly. But this is where I kind of have trouble because to me this is a confusing data, although for me explaining it, I'm getting a better, or I'm hoping you'll get a better understanding. But let's talk about your projects. Grace, I was thinking that, or for years, using something like this, you would have your colored candles and then how long did it take for each one to melt. Aiden C, I thought about yours with the basketball. You'd have how much air you had in your basketball and then how high was the bounce. So you can see how those are actual numbers and that's why I feel really good about those. Mario, how far did your ball go down the ramp? Ryan C, you were talking about the interlocking of Legos, but I think we started to change yours to the amount of Legos. So you might write the different amount of Legos and then how many were still standing. So you could see I could go through everybody's, but I love how all of yours are measurable. Mine needs a little tweak, or I should say ours needs a little tweak. Valerie, you're going to put the color crystal and then you're going to say how many crystals were there. Adeline's off to a great start. She has her fruits and her vegetables that she tried. She's recording how much electricity is read on the device. I can't even think of what it was called now. The device that she's using. So once you have a way to collect your data, I would write it all on your paper. If I turn back in my notebook, I started writing it one way. I went and once again, I got stuff everywhere. So you can see it's messy and I found it hard to read. Then you can really go to create your graph. So that's where I want to show you this website right here. It is called, if you just go to Google and say create a graph, but it comes up underneath this school site, or National Center of Education Statistics is what it is. Sorry, let me get it on the screen. So right here, it's called Create a Graph. And in this, most of us are gonna be creating bar graphs because we're not doing something over time. We're going and we're recording, so the plant growth actually, I'm thinking out loud, the plant growth may use a line plot one. But you can choose your design. So I went in and I clicked bar graph. And I think in the example I gave, I did horizontal. You can do vertical. Most of them we know how to read as third graders are vertical. My phone's battery's gonna die. Rectangle, and then once you have this, then you go to click your data tab over here to the right. You click data, put your title, put what you want at the bottom of your bar graph, what you want on the side of your the side of your graph. And then you can go and you can put in your different liquids. Your value here would be where our time was. So we did our first check at 5, and then we did our last check at 55. So my graph is gonna graph from anywhere from 5 minutes to 55 minutes. So I need to go in and create these values of how long did it take. So water was anywhere between 20 and 25 minutes. So I'm going to put the 20. I could look at root beer. I'm just going to make numbers up for right now so you can see it. 45. One hand. I need more hands, boys and girls. And let's just say that milk. Holy cow, that milk. 55. And let's put the apple juice at 45 as well. So I put my data in, and then I can go to either labels or preview. I liked going to preview, and then I could get a better reading of what I was making here. So I actually, now you can see Mrs. Hoffman made a mistake. The time should be going up and down in my liquids, so I just need to change my title. So I'm gonna go back to my design, actually back to my data. And instead of saying liquids here, I'm gonna say time to dissolve. I'm just gonna write time because I'm using one hand. And then here on the y-axis, I'm gonna say liquids. And I spelled it right. And let's go to preview. Let's go to update. Update. Let's hope that worked, boys and girls. Preview. There you go. So you can see for our first trial, you can see how long it took the vinegar, how long the Skittle took in the vinegar, the water, the root beer, the apple juice, and the milk. I can make 5 separate graphs for my 5 separate trials, or some of you may come to me and say, can I put them all into one graph? And yes, you may. For purposes right now, I'm just going to show you how to do it this way, but if you want help or you want me to help you in class, I can do that as well. And then there's a button here to print and save. So for those of us that have this access at home, or if you send it to me, I can print it for you. So like I said, this is a wonderful website. Let me turn this around to me. Oh. Actually, it's not letting me, so I'll just stop by saying that